And, well, starting off with matters drought, you can see on the dailies today, we have, areas that have been hit by drought and ravaging certain parts of the country, and mainly northern Kenya. Reports show that up to 1.1 million Kenyans living in those areas are facing starvation following the low spell of rain. Hard-hit areas include Turkana County, which is among 12 counties that have been hit by the drought. According to the National Disaster Management Authority, 1.3 billion has been set aside for the mitigation measures to cover February to April. Some sources say that several people have died as a result of drought, but authorities from the national government as well as county government have denied these reports. All right, and I'll start with you, Senator Irungu Kangata. Some very damning and scary statistics there in this day and age, given that after independence, one of the things that had been promised as a country is poverty eradication, but more so to deal with starvation. How do we get ourselves out of this? We seem to be going through the same cycles. Not too long ago, we had floods, which basically went wasted, as it were, because we did not harvest or harness that water in any way. But here we are then again staring at a very desperate situation. Again, another thing that we need to note is the fact that we have devolved governments that should be able to take care of this kind of issues and disasters. Your thoughts on what we need to do, because there seems to be a big problem?
From where I sit, agriculture only makes sense when it is large scale. Small-scale agriculture is not economical. So we need to support what is called supply-side economics. We come up with policies and programs that support supply-side economics. How do we do that? Number one, we have vast tracts of lands which currently are in the government hands. Either government considers selling those lands to private people or leasing those lands to private people. So for me, for instance, the so-called the Galana irrigation scheme should either be given out to private individuals or to private companies or even to foreign governments that have that capability. Government, by its nature, does not conduct business in a good manner. So therefore, whenever you give government any work that has an element of business, it will be amenable to corruption, to be amenable to mismanagement. So for me, the problem of low production in agriculture here in Kenya has to do with structural issues that we need to boost large-scale farming. Once we get those bags from whoever, then we can do distribution, then we can do all those interventions.
Could our biggest challenge be incompetence? And the reason why I say that is because if you look at countries like Israel, they are in deserts, they don't have much water, yet they're still able to feed and even export some of their agricultural produce. Yet we have so much water in Kenya, as much as some of those areas may be drought-stricken or dry, we still are not able to use what we have effectively to feed ourselves.
Yes, it is true. There's an element of state incapacity, state incompetence. That I agree. I'm sure the government is trying to do something. That's the whole rationale of this fight against corruption, to make the state more competent. But be that as it may, even if we were to achieve that, those benefits may take a long time to crystallize and be able to deliver the dream that we have been looking for. You look all over the world, you will see agriculture tends to be private-driven, and therefore government should seriously consider the whole idea of leasing huge tracts of land that is held to private individuals. Once they harvest, then they can give government part of that harvest. Then government can consider giving out that those harvests to those people who cannot be able. Of course, there's also that element of maybe building dams. Recall one of the main projects that we are fighting over currently is located in some of these dry areas. It is in Marakwet, isn't it? Another one is in Baringo. So again, you'd imagine if the Italian entity did its work as it was originally planned, there's every likelihood we wouldn't be in this problem. So we need to allow the government also We need to know
I'm not
because
sure, I'm not sure there's anything-
no.
I'm not sure there's anything to laud the government
No, there
about
is.
because, and I'll tell you why, because it is the mandate, it is the responsibility of government to ensure that there is food for the country. The fact that we are having people dying, that is a failure on government. In fact, as a member of parliament, I think you should be apologizing to Kenyans for being part of, government that has not been able to deliver.
No, the celebration I'm talking about is the fight against corruption that has been commenced by the president. You can see.
The only time we can celebrate is when we see the results. So far, we have not seen any results.
No. Look here. You can see the correlation between the fight against corruption and people dying. Vast majority of these people are dying in regions where the government had, in its own wisdom, seen the importance of having a dam. That is the whole rationale. Government had seen the necessity of a dam in Baringo. We now have a problem. It had seen the necessity of a dam in Marakwet. You can see now Marakwet has a problem. In all those regions, there were plans to ensure there is adequate food security.
Okay.
But now look, because of corruption, you don't have dams, people are dying. So what do? The government has commenced a major fight against corruption, assuming that Italian company was to come and say, okay, we don't want prosecution, we want to do it. There is every likelihood after 1 year or 2 years, we shall not be having this discussion again.
All right, Ambrose Weda, anything that the government needs to celebrate?
I think they need to celebrate the golf tournament that the president attended with Amina and Balala, and they were happy. And they have very expensive hats. You see the hats they're wearing? If you sold one, 10 people would be saved. I think this is what we need to celebrate and say thank you. These are very hardworking cabinet people. They lead the president in the right way, and so on and so forth. When you see something like this, you would think that the media houses are exaggerating. They are going extreme because it looks like another space. We are not talking about a country where 2017, the main slogan was no Kenyan will die of hunger. One of the 4 main agenda items was food security for every Kenyan. That was it. One of the major causes of corruption is fear of poverty. If I've gone through that system and I suspect I may go back to it, you put me into money, I'll amass it. I'll keep some here, I'll keep some in Qatar, I'll keep some in Britain. Fear of poverty, not that you want a lot of it. You fear going back to that kind of trauma. So when somebody is fighting poverty, but is creating younger people who will be able to accumulate so that they're secure, something is wrong. These dams that we are talking about, they will not bring maize. They were not going to be used for irrigation. So let's not use them as an excuse. Where we should come from today to say something is deeply wrong, we are sincerely sorry, and give us another 5 or 7 days, and action shall have been taken by government. This is a kind of thing that we cannot sit and say in the name of Jesus, we are loving our president and our deputy president, they are very good. No. This is where they take personal responsibility. There are 2 of them. The communities that are involved, they also need to change. They have some cultures and traditions that make it difficult for others to help them. When they have enough food, they are fighting. You can't access there. They are very sharp in shooting and they have guns all over. And therefore, Kenyans who are innovative business persons who could drive maize there for sale cannot go because of insecurity. They also need to change. Then there are other cultures that they need to live slowly, so that they modernize, so that they are incorporated with the others. Then they grow. It is either way. Then they also stop voting like people who do not understand. They say, oh, we are voting for this party, we are voting for so and so. They should vote for leaders knowing very well that time comes when they are so hungry that they are dying. So they should vote for leaders who have a heart, who will remember them
at their time
before
of need.
they die to go back.
All right, Senator, food security is one of Jubilee government's agenda and one of the pillars. But if we do not put structures and things in place now, we're probably going to be staring at this situation again next year and the year after and many years to come. What do you feel has been done so far to ensure food security? Because if it's the dams, Here we are fighting over whether it was 7 billion or 721 billion or whatever. In short, there are no dams that we can speak about. If it is the Galana Kulalu, here we are again saying that that is a failed project that never took off. There seems to be nothing on the ground that can be a foundation for us to look at and say, as a country, we are building towards food security.
I tend to disagree with your conclusion. Reason being, I think the dams were a good idea. Because
they were a good idea.
They were good ideas. In fact, they were good ideas. Were it not now, they have not been implemented. And that is why the government is investigating. Otherwise, if they were implemented, there will be no need for your investigation. So dams were a good idea. I would hope once we are done with these processes, we either recover the money or we compel these companies to continue and finish those programs so that we have dams that are going to secure people in Rift Valley and in other regions. Also, related to that corruption issue, of course, Galana, again, I hope we are able to nail those people who are behind its collapse so that, again, we have that project kicking off. For me, I think that was a good idea. It is something that is rational. If it can be implemented in its best manner, it can also ensure we have food security in this country.
Okay, unfortunately in Kenya we seem to have very good ideas, but they never take off the ground. Do you feel there's anything that has been done so far that would be a foundation for food security in this country for the future?
Yes, fertilizer subsidy. For the last 1 or 2 seasons, we have had what is called a bumper harvest in Rift Valley. That is clearly connected to the fertilizer subsidy program of the Jubilee government. And but that is something that we need to harness everywhere in the world, notwithstanding the so-called World Trade Organization rules. Agriculture is a protected industry that is heavily subsidized, including in the Western world, where they preach about free trade. So therefore, we need to continue with that program so that we boost productivity of our people in the Rift Valley. And of course, again, another problem of government mismanagement of its institution, the National Cereals and Produce Board, it was unable to take all produce from farmers. Again, that's the government is mulling with the idea of privatizing that entity. I would imagine once that process is done, you are going to boost efficiency level when it comes to strategic government reserves for maize and other key products that our people need. But for me, I think the subsidy program for fertilizer has worked.
It's a step in the right direction. Whether do you feel you're one who lives, you know, you're in a farming area, do you feel there's anything that has been done that would act as a good foundation for us to talk about food security in the future?
I'm trying to look so that I defend the government of my good friend and President Uhuru, but it's very difficult to see because it's the same. When people die like this, and you stand here and say fertilizer, whatever, if we are not able to keep the bumper harvest that we have received, we are not just able to store it and keep it for tougher days, then what do we complain? The sugar industry is dead, the rice industry is dead. So the coffee industry, you are complaining here every day. So I don't know which one. The only industry that the sector that is thriving very well is the corruption sector. It's doing very well. It's actually excelling. But otherwise, and then the second sector that follows it is the drama around it. Drama from Kinoti, drama from the DPP, drama from everybody. Drama from the courts. It is drama all over. But when it comes to the main 4 agenda items, food security, there's nothing. We would have had so much land under irrigation. When money was sent for it, they swallowed it. Now, without irrigation, then we are depending on natural rain. Now, natural rain, we are waiting, Baringo people are dying, Turkana people are dying. And it is not a new thing, it's something we have known. So which one? You parliamentarians, must we hang ourselves for you to understand we are desperate? What do we do? When ministers come for you to approve, you ask them whether they will allow you to see them in their offices. You say, I saw Honorable Professor Magoha being led through the process. And the members of parliament were more concerned how they will see him, whether he'll have time for them. I remember one time they rejected Juma because Juma would not see them. What kind of people are these? What's wrong with you people?
Senator, any answer you want to give to Ambrose, whether there's a question there, what's wrong with you people?
Well, of course, for me, the greatest blame lies with the executive branch of government, because in terms of laws, the legislature has provided those laws. In terms of capitation, the legislature has provided the requisite funds. So the problem is always when it's come to execution. And I think also, maybe to support a little bit the chief executive of this country, upon realizing the problem is in executive, particularly because of issues of corruption, is now decided to take that to very strongly, of ensuring the government is competent, it is executing its programs. And for me, it's something we need to celebrate. I agree, we may not see the fruits now. That one I concede. I agree, it is a fail on the part of the government when we see such kind of images. But to the extent the government is doing something currently, which something was not being done for so many years, is something that we need to celebrate.